Welcome to another episode of The Latest with Maya. Today I am having a conversation with spoken word artist Demetri Manabat. Demetri, thank you so much for being on my show. I'm really excited to talk with you.
Thank you for having me, Maya. I'm excited as well.
So let's get started. I love your work. What inspired you to get into spoken word?
Well, firstly, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Spoken word was never my first route, I guess, in college. Um, my goal or dream was to be a fiction author and like fiction novels. Um, I started with that, and writing a book is a very long and hard process. And I quickly learned that, and I was getting very burnt out. And one of my professors recommended that I try doing something more instantly gratifying, something that I can actually finish and put my name on and just like kind of respark that passion for writing. And he recommended poetry or spoken word, which I had never considered before. But I went to my first open mic and first poetry slam, and I watched the other artists perform, and I didn't know that poetry or spoken word could sound like that. Um, and I just fell in love with it ever since. That was about a year and a half ago. I told myself I would do poetry for a year and then get back to the book, but I've just fallen so in love with it that I don't see an end to it in the near future. But
Oh, I love that. Yeah. Yeah, I remember my senior year of high school, I took a creative writing class, and one of the things we worked on was poetry, and I was never a huge fan of poetry. I found, I don't know, I got very frustrated with like all the rules of um but then we were doing like slam poetry, and that was really where I was like, okay, I really like this.
it was a lot of the older, like more traditional page poetry can be very frustrating.
Yeah,
And I was the same way. I didn't like poetry in school, and so going into it, I just assumed that that's what it was going to be. But
yeah.
then covering this whole world of slam poetry is just a whole different conversation in itself. But I'm very glad I found it. It brought me to where I am today.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Is there a poem of yours that you have been surprised has resonated with so many people?
Um, I will say I will say Barbie, I was a bit surprised, but for some different reasons. I had Barbie written for, I want to say 4 or 5 months before I posted it. And I had been performing it at open mics and just live shows, just kind of working it out, seeing how it felt with an audience. And a lot of times it got very mixed reviews when performed in person. I remember the first time I performed it, that beginning sequence of the poem is it's a little tough to get through. Um, and there was the first time I performed it, I had this front row of girls that just walked out of the show before I even got to the twist of the poem. And I was trying to figure out what it was that I needed to rework or what it was I needed to edit to see how I could get it to hit harder with those audiences because it just seemed it wasn't being received in the way that I wanted it to. And I was actually just gonna toss the poem to the side. I was like, okay, like I'll come back to it later. I wasn't gonna post it just because I didn't feel as ready. But my girlfriend was actually the one that encouraged me to post it anyways, because she was like, are you posting this for them or are you posting it for yourself? Like if you actually feel 100% genuine in what you're saying, and you believe every word, then there should be no issue. And so I posted it and I left my phone for the day. And when I came back, it was already at, over 1 million plus views, which was just out of nowhere. And yeah, so I was very surprised because of the fact that it wasn't getting that type of it wasn't being received that way when performed initially. So I was very surprised by that reaction.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's the first poem I heard of yours, and I love all of your work, but that one is one of my favorites. Yeah. Um, so do you have a favorite poem that you've written?
Ooh, favorite poem. I think if I had to pick, it'd be between two. It'd be between um, a poem that I have called My Heavenly Love and a poem that I have called The Best Chef I Know. The Best Chef I Know is a poem I wrote about my mom, uh, because that was one of the first poems that I wrote that wasn't about my dad. I started writing poetry shortly after my dad passed away. And it seemed like after he passed away, I could only ever write about him. Um, every single one of my pieces just revolved around just the feelings of grief and loss and, things around his death. And The Best Chef I Know was one of the first poems that I started to view things in a different perspective, where instead of kind of focusing on, my dad's death and just how I felt about that, it allowed me to shift and be like, hey, like, yes, my father did pass away, but I still have my mom that's still here, and she does so much, and so it allowed me to view that in a different perspective. And then My Heavenly Love is a poem I wrote about my girlfriend, and that one does talk a little bit about grief, but essentially this gamble that we all take as humans, right? Whether it be with friends or significant others, whenever we meet people and you build relationships with those people, it's that oh my goodness, I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
Oh, there we go. Let me put my phone on do not disturb. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Perfect. So sorry about that.
Oh,
But
that's okay.
yeah, so it's whenever we meet people and start to build relationships with people, one of those conversations that never really comes up is that conversation of the the ideal ending for us, or the happily ever after, which a lot of times in this case of My Heavenly Love, the case being my girlfriend, the happily ever after, like the most ideal situation is that we make it to grow old together, and eventually one of us is going to pass away. And it's a conversation that no one acknowledges, whether it be out of fear or just not wanting to address something like that right now. But again, with my dad passing away, it forced me to kind of take that conversation a little more seriously. Like, hey, and my dad was only 48 when he passed, so he didn't live to be super old. So, this is always a possibility. It's a difficult conversation to have, because you don't want to overwhelm yourself by preparing for the inevitable, but you also don't want to be blindsided by just completely ignoring it in its entirety.
Yeah. And yeah, I'm so sorry to hear about your dad. Huh. Um, so do you have a favorite poet?
Favorite poet? Oh my goodness. Whew, that is a difficult question. That's like asking a favorite music artist. I have quite a few. I will say one of the first poets that I stumbled across was a poet by the name of Rudy Francisco. He's probably one of the most well-known spoken word artists in this field, and for a lot of people, he's like kind of like the poet that people first stumble across. Just because when you look up spoken word or slam poetry, he's one of the main people that pops up. Um, so I will say he was the first. He helped me fall in love with poetry. He was one of those voices that helped me realize what it could sound like, and how it didn't have to be your super traditional, I guess, page poetry. Um, just to list off a couple others, like I can't put it in a particular order, but thinking about like big poets, a poet by the name of, her name's Ebony Stewart. She's great. A poet by the name of Black Chakra, or even thinking locally, like in my hometown, I'm part of a poetry slam team out here in Las Vegas, and we have great poets on this team. You know, I'd say a big inspiration for me on this team is a poet by the name of Penehuro. He's a Samoan poet, and he recently took final stage in a big regional competition. And it was his first regional competition, and seeing that AAPI representation on that type of stage is very rare. So I will say he did inspire me by doing that. So I would say those are some main people that I would include on that list.
Oh, that's so cool. I love that. Um, so do you ever get nervous before performing?
All the time, every time. I will say it's I believe one of my teammates, Rick, he really he says all the time like there's a difference between being nervous and being excited. I want to say he's the one that says that in our team, but it's true. You know, a lot of time that nervousness can be just because you're super excited for something, or other times that nervousness can just be because you care about something so much that you want to make sure you do well. But I will say every performance, it doesn't matter if it's in front of, you know, a couple people or a couple hundred. Like I do get very nervous, but I have, you know, little ways that to calm myself down before going on stage, which seem to help a little bit. But I feel like nerves are something that'll always be present anytime performing in front of people.
Yeah, definitely. Um, do- what do you do to help calm your nerves?
Help calm my nerves. Breathing is a big one. A lot of times I forget, not that I forget to breathe, but you know, we forget that breathing helps so much with just like calming the heart rate and just like
Yeah.
zone. Um, Sometimes I'll listen to old voicemails from either my girlfriend or my dad or other family members just to kind of like recenter myself a little bit or put myself back into that moment. Um, and I really just try to do anything that'll make me laugh, whether it be like talking with teammates or trying to just mess around with teammates and stuff because it helps take my mind off of it. Things like that. Just trying to turn that nervousness into more of that excited feeling, and really take in what's about to happen when going on stage.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Yeah. Um, so who in your life has had the biggest impact on how you choose to live?
How I choose to live, I would definitely say my dad. My dad has had a great impact, even though he's not with us today. He still continues to teach me a lot about how to live. You know, he passed away when he was 48, so fairly young, but he was very big on being kind to people, choosing to pursue what you love. You know, he worked as a doorman at a casino, but so he would always tell us, you know, because his dream was to be an actor, and he would be like extras or have tiny roles in these films, which meant the world to him because that was his passion. And I think that was one of his biggest regrets, was not pursuing it earlier. And that's something that he always tried to instill in us, is making sure that whatever it is we pursue, whatever it is we choose to do with our lives, that we make sure it's something we love. He was big on family, big on expressing love to the people we care about. Just overall, just a real, just kind person. And I think I take a lot of that and a lot of the mannerisms I have today from him. At least that's what my mom says.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely, my dad has been a great impact, as well as my mom too. You know, they both teach me very different things. My mom is very much the she was the she was the real hard shelled parent in the beginning. You know, my dad was the real softy. He was the one that cried all the time and is super emotional, and just very in touch with his feelings. And my mom was the complete opposite. She was super hard shelled and very strong. And after he passed, you know, she started to get a little more vulnerable and more open about her feelings, which is great. But yeah, both of them taught me such great things that I still use today. But so definitely my parents have been a huge played a huge role in how I live today.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. Um, so I am pop culture obsessed and go in stages of shows that I cannot stop watching. Is there a show that you are currently obsessed with?
Uh, at the moment, I've just been so busy. I want to be obsessed with this show, but I will say in the past, I haven't watched TV in a while just because I'm busy with writing and whatnot. But shows that I've been obsessed with in the past, Grey's Anatomy was a big one. I watched that all in middle school and high school. I'm not sure if you've ever seen a show called Supernatural.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
I Oh my
Yeah,
goodness. So that was a show that I used to watch with my dad. And the last season that they put out, I just can't watch it because it just feels wrong to watch it without him. But it got spoiled for me, which is unfortunate.
um,
Uh, but yeah, that was a great show as well.
yeah. I love that show.
Supernatural is a really good. I love shows like that have like longer form storylines where it's like how many seasons of Supernatural? I think it's in the double digits. I know that.
Yeah,
But like, because once you get to the end, it just like it's like a really long book where it's like you spent so much time invested in this show, like you feel like you're family members with the characters. I
yeah.
remember there's also this show called The 100. I'm not sure if you've seen that.
I
Um,
haven't.
that was a very good show as well. It's real. I really like a lot of dystopian shows and books as well. The 100 is very good, and then Money Heist. I think it's only 2 seasons. It's a show in Spanish, but I would definitely put Money Heist in the top 3 shows I've ever seen. Definitely, if you get time to watch it, you can probably binge it in like 2 or 3 days. Like it is such a good show, and it's one of those shows that a lot of shows just kind of like drop off towards the end, and
Yeah.
um, they don't maintain that velocity. Money Heist, like it just got better and better as it went on all the way into the last episode, and the last episode just ended great. And yeah, it was, in my opinion, a perfect show. So Money Heist is definitely on that list.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. I yeah, I love having those shows that just like to you, they're just perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I definitely have some of those shows.
What are some of your shows? So I know you said Supernatural is one of them.
Yeah, yes, Supernatural, there's White Collar,
Mm,
that I have been obsessed with it for years and I will remain obsessed with it. um, and then and that one also, like that show to me had one of the best series finales. Um, and then there's also the one that I just started like going back and watching different episodes from is A Million Little Things.
mm.
Um, that show also, I think, had one of the best series finales that also like absolutely broke me. So I could not go back to the show for like a year.
No, Supernatural, yeah, was definitely had its moments that you just get so tied into these characters and the
Yeah,
storylines when big stuff like that happens.
yeah,
I Black Collar was on my list of shows to watch, as well as Suits. Both of those shows were,
oh, yeah.
yeah. So eventually, to sit down and really just start binging shows again.
Yeah. Yeah, I binged Suits a few months ago, or when it first I don't even know how long ago. It was when it first came on Netflix and I
Mm.
just binged it all. So yeah, that one's also really good. Yeah. Um yeah, so if you had a warning label, what would yours say?
Warning label. Okay, just to give me an idea, what would your warning label say? Just so I can get an idea what I'm looking for.
I I think it would probably have to, it would be like something, I think I'd have to have two that would be like prone to anxiety, don't overload, and then another one that just says like will obsessively talk about the
Mm,
like pop culture and
uh, okay, I'll put one as uh warning, probably sleep deprived. Sleep is one of those things that I just put off all the time, which I know I shouldn't, and I'm trying to get better. But
yeah,
there's so many, like only so many hours in the day. You know,
yeah,
a warning uh will talk your ear off about music. I love music, um,
yeah,
well as poetry. Even if people aren't even interested in poetry or certain genres of music, I will find a way to get them interested.
yeah.
I don't know, warning, low battery life. Oh my goodness. So I work at a coffee shop, and so a lot of my day is customer service. So after, getting off work, I'm so quiet and I just don't want to interact anymore. So working in customer service definitely takes a lot of energy out. So there are certain days where I do have that warning, low battery, just where I'm just like, I would, I am the type of person that even if we're hanging out, like we don't have to say a word and I'm cool with that. Like we can just sit in the same room and just exist in each other's presence and that is okay with me. Like, sometimes it just takes too much energy to interact. Like sometimes just sitting with each other is enough.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I love having, yeah, those friends that it's okay if like you can talk forever and then you're also like perfectly comfortable just like sitting in silence. Yeah. Um, y- so what genre of movie would your life story be told as?
My life story. I would probably say a rom-com. I would be a good rom-com. Um, my my girlfriend and I, we started dating when we were super young. I think I was 11 or 12 years old. And we've been together for 10 years. But outside of that, just love is a big part of my life, whether it be the love I share with my girlfriend or my friends or family. Um, and I include the comedy part because my family has experienced, a fair amount of trauma and loss. But through everything, a way that we cope is to try and find light and make humor out of things that are happening. Because laughter does help lift spirits a lot,
Yeah,
uh, and it's one of those things that is very underrated. So I would definitely say rom com. It's as easy as it would be to say, it'd be like a sad movie or a heartbreak. I don't like to think that my life or anyone's life should be defined by the bad things. I like to look at what we still have. I still have a life full of love and a life full of laughter, even laughing at some of the negative things. But it's sometimes that's the only thing you can do, and
yeah.
sometimes that's more than enough. So definitely a good rom com. It would be a good rom com.
Love that. Yeah, and yeah, I totally agree with that. You just have to, yeah, learn to laugh at the things that my mom always taught me and my sister that
Mhm.
that just like even through in the worst of times, you
Yeah,
can find something to laugh about.
yeah. A perfect example. Just a short little story. So when my mom and dad were dating, um, my dad would always bring my mom red roses every Sunday. He would bring her a red rose, all the way I think through they were married, just a red rose every week. And after he passed, we were just telling stories about my dad, and my mom was like, he got me a red rose every week, and I didn't have the heart to tell him that I hated red roses, and that was not my favorite flower, but he was just so excited to bring them. Um, and she never told him. And so the inside joke was at my dad's funeral, every flower was just red roses everywhere. And so that, one of those things to find
Yeah,
different story that we tell all the time. And now, like for Mother's Day, for my mom's birthday, we always just get her red roses because it's one of those things that we can
yeah,
continue that.
yeah, I love that. Yeah, yeah. Um, yeah, that is, I feel like that is like the plot of a rom-com. Yeah. So I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. So what in your life brings you the most joy?
People, people bring me a great amount of joy. Whether it be people I'm meeting for the first time, like yourself, um, or people that I've known all my life. I think the certain parts of people that I love are just genuine kindness and just love and just um, all understanding that we're having this human experience together for the first time, and just empathy and just every good thing and bad thing that people have to offer. It's an amazing thing to be a part of. Whether it be people like yourself reaching out and just wanting to have a conversation. I love that. Whether it be friends that I've known my entire life, just sitting in silence together. I love that too. But people bring me a lot of joy in life. And I think um, without people, I just, they're, there wouldn't be as big of an effect that my poetry or spoken word has if there weren't people. And that's part of the reason why I write, is to help people going through the same things that I'm going through. Um, so definitely, I think people bring me the most joy in my
Oh, I love that. Yeah. Um, so what are people surprised to learn about you?
life. That I am actually a Tahitian dancer. I've been doing Tahitian dancing since high school. um, and still do that to this day. So that's something that I do outside of poetry and work. That's just for myself, just because I enjoy it. I don't get paid to do it. I'm not being forced to do it. Just something that I really do enjoy, and it's a good workout too. But yeah, I'd say that's the biggest surprise when I tell people that I do dancing outside of poetry.
Yeah, that's so cool. Yeah. Um, so I just have one more question for you. So I love inspiring and motivational quotes. And this week, my favorite quotation is actually by one of my favorite poets, Mark Anthony. And it says, "Don't deny your fire, my dear, just be who you are and burn." Um, is there a quotation that has inspired you lately?
Ooh, if I had to pinpoint it, I'm not sure. There's two actually. So there's one, the first one. Um, I'm not sure who said it. I remember watching an interview with a rapper named Russ, and they actually asked him the same question. Um, and I believe the quote was, "Live as if you knew everything was going to work out better than you imagined." Um, because a lot of times we do. A lot of times, it's human nature. We assume the worst. But imagine if everything worked out better than you had planned. Um, and just choose to live that way. So I think that's one. Second one would be one from my dad. Every day before leaving, he would always say, um, uh, "Have a great day. Most importantly, have fun." That was like a real, he was big on just like little things, just having fun, enjoying life. Um, but yeah, that was a big one. We'd walk out the door and he'd just say, "Have a great day." My nickname was Angel Boy growing up, so he'd say, "Have a great day, Angel Boy. Most importantly, have fun." So I think that's one that still sticks with me to this day, is that one. It's sometimes you just need that little reminder to not be so serious all the time and just to have fun.
Yeah, definitely. I love that. Yeah, I think those are great. Um, Well, it was so much fun talking with you. I so appreciate your taking the time. So thank you.
Thank you for reaching out, Maya. I really do. I'm actually honored that you would have me on here. Truly, I thank you so much. I enjoyed this a lot.
Of course, me too. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you, Maya. You as well.
Thank you. And that's a wrap on today's edition of The Latest with Maya.